Okay, Daled Vav. The father is not liable for his daughter's support. The exposition did Elazar ben Azariah expound before the sages in the Academy of Yavna. And the sons will inherit and the daughters will be sustained, just as the sons inherit only after the father's death, so the daughters are supported only after their father's death. If he did not write a ketubah for her, a virgin collects 200 zuz and a widow 100 because of the condition established by the court. If he assigned to her in writing a field worth 100 in lieu of the 200 zuz, and he did not write it to her, all properties that I own as surety for your kesubah, he is nevertheless liable since it is condition established by the court. If he did not write for her, if you are captured, I will ransom you and keep you for me as a wife, or in the case of a Kohen's wife, I will bring you back to your city. He is nevertheless liable since it is a condition established by the court. Okay.
Hey, Nishbase, what happens if his wife, Chas v'shalom, is kidnapped? Chayav lifdosa. He has to redeem her. That's part of that's part of the conditions of the marriage. V'imamar hare gita uksubasa. He says, "Look, what do I want to get into ransom? Let me just divorce her, give her a kasuba, and she can ransom herself, or basically her family can ransom her." Einor Rashai. He's not allowed to do that. That's his obligation to redeem her took effect the moment she was kidnapped, and he can't remove himself from the obligation just by divorcing her. That the obligation predated the divorce. However, he has an obligation to heal her. Okay, if she gets sick, so he has to pay for all of her medical expenses. Okay, Amar Hare Gita Uksubasa Therapeutis Atzma Rashai. Now he is, if he wants to say, listen, I'm sick of looking. I'm sick of looking after her. She's always sick and always spending money. And I says, let me divorce her, and now she can spend her own medical expenses. Actually, he is entitled to do that. Why? Because her medical expenses are a day-by-day expense. So everything that she incurs on a particular day, he has to pay for. But if he divorces her now, then going forward, her medical expenses are on her. Okay, not getting into the ethics of whether you should do that, but just if it comes in front of a court, the court has to just rule on the monetary value, on the monetary issues. Okay. Lo kasav la banin dichin de havin leichiminai inun yertun kasaf kasubasich yasser al chalkan im achehon. Okay, what's that? That's in English. It's interesting that they put that into yeah, so they put it into the Aramaic because actually our Kesubos are in Aramaic. Um, okay, your sons that you will have from me will inherit the value of your Kesuba above their chelik with their other brothers. In other words, talking about in the case of where there's more than one wife and children from more than one wife. So, what's the story that this is covering? Because if the husband dies, then each wife gets back her Kesuba. So this is talking about where the wife died first, which means that the husband inherits the Kesuba, including all of the properties that were written in the Kesuba and everything that's the 200 zuz stays with the husband, right? So, but now she's got sons and her co-wives have got sons, and when the husband dies, are all these sons going to inherit the property that was originally hers? So,
Right.
so one of the preconditions of the Kasuba is that everything that's in the Kasuba gets inherited only by her sons above and it's only the shared property that's split equally between all of the Yorshim. But things that came into the marriage through their mother will be inherited only by her sons. Okay, and even if that's not written in the Kasuba, it's written in the Kasuba. Chayav shehuch tanai based in. That's and again, that's one of those clauses that this and the previous clause about redeeming, they're not actually written into the nusach of the Kasuba that we use nowadays. But nonetheless, as the Mishnah says, that's just a t'nai based in. It doesn't have to be written in there. It's taken as given. Okay. Another condition that's taken as that's given that's not actually explicit in our nusach of the Kasuba. Benan nukban de yahavun lechiminai, your female children that you will have that you will bear to me. Yavion yasvan bevaisi umitaznan minichsai ad yisnasvan leguvrin. If that when I die, they will be allowed to stay in my house and be fed until they are married. Okay. And that is again a Tanai based in Chayav, Shul Tanai based in. Um, this applies to girls who are underage. Once they become bogros, once they become bas mitzvah, this actually does not apply anymore. It's just talking about so the obligation of the estate to support the daughters is only applicable until the daughters get married or become of age, whichever comes sooner. Okay, short and sweet. Let's go back to base valid.
Okay, 1 second. Okay. Next on. If this one says this is my handwriting and the others and this is the other's handwriting and this one says this is my handwriting and this is the other's handwriting, they are believed. If this one says this is my handwriting and this one says this is my handwriting, they must join to themselves another person. These are the words of Rabbi. Rebbe, the sages of say they need not join another person to themselves. Rather, a person is believed to say, "This is my handwriting." If a woman said, "I was married, but I am divorced," she is believed, for the one that created the liability is the one that undid it. If, however, there are witnesses that she was married and she says, "I am divorced," she is not believed. If she said, "I was captured, but I am undefiled," she is believed, for the one that created the liability is the one that undid it. If there are witnesses that she was captured, however, and she says, "I am undefiled," she is not believed. But after she is married, witnesses came and she need not leave. If two women were captured, and now this one says, "I was captured, but I am undefiled," and this one says, "I was captured, but I am undefiled," they are not believed. If they testify for one another, however, they are believed.
Okay.
Okay.
Yevamos Zain Gimel.
Okay. Zion Gimel. No, what
Yeah.
did I say? Zion Gimel, yeah. These are the daughters of Israel married to a Cohen, and he died, leaving her pregnant. Her slaves may not eat truma because of the share of the fetus, because the fetus disqualifies, but not does entitle one to eat truma. These are the words of Reb Yossi. They said to him, "After your testimony to us concerning the daughter of Yisrael and a Cohen, even if the daughter of a Cohen was married to a Cohen and he died, leaving her pregnant, her slaves should not eat truma because of the share of the fetus." The fetus, the Yavam, the betrothal, and the deaf mute, and a boy 9 years and 1 day old did old disqualify, but did not entitle a woman to eat this truma. And even if it is in doubt whether the boy was 9 years old and 9 years and 1 day old, or not, or whether they two hairs appeared or not, if a house collapsed on a man and his daughter's brother and his daughter's brother's daughter, and is not known who died first, a co-wife requires kalisa, but may not be taken in yibum. The rapist is seduced to the mentally incompetent, do not disquiet, nor do they entitle a woman to eat truma, but if they were unfit to marry into the congregation of Israel, they disqualify her. How so? If Israel cohabitated with the daughter of a Kohen, she may eat truma. If she became pregnant, she may not eat truma. However, if the fetus was cut up in a room, they may eat truma. If a Kohen cohabited with the daughter of Israel, she may not eat truma. If she became pregnant, she may not eat. However, if she gave birth, she may eat. Thus, the power of the son is greater than that of the father. The slave disqualifies because of cohabitation, but does not disqualify as a descendant. How so? If the daughter of Israel married a Kohen, if the daughter of a Kohen, of a Kohen married a Israel, and he bore him a son, and the son went forced himself on a slave woman, and she bore a son from him, he is a slave. If his father's mother was the daughter of Israel married to a Kohen, she may not eat truma. If the daughter of a true Kohen married in Israel, she may eat truma. The Mamzer disqualifies and entitles a woman to be truma. How so? If the daughter of a Yisrael married a Cohen, or the daughter of a Cohen married a Yisrael, and she bore him a daughter, and the daughter went and married a slave or a non-Jew, and bore a son from him, he is a Mamzer. If the boy's mother was the daughter of a Yisrael married to a Kohen, she may eat truma. If the daughter of a Kohen married a Yisrael, she may not eat truma. Okay. We're going to go on to the to Zion after this. The next one, right?
Oh,
I get
yeah.
my
You mean the next volume of Yevamos?
right, we'll get the next volume out. So I have that. Okay. Okay, sukkah. If a scab, like boil, grew on most of it, or it was pitted, was removed, or it was peeled, or it was split, or it was punctured and is missing a slight portion, it is invalid. If a boil covered a minority of it, or its stem was removed, or it was punctured and nothing was missing, it's valid. And Ethiopian esrog is invalid. And one is green as a leek, Remea validates it, but Behuda invalidates it. The minimum size of an esrog, Remea says, is like a nut. Reputa says like an egg. and the maxim so that he can hold two esrogim in one hand. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yossi says, even one that must be held in both hands. We do not bind the lulav except with its own kind. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says, even with cord. Rabbi Meir says it happened that the men of the Yerushalayim would bind the lulav with gold wire, and they said to him in rebuttal, they would bind it with its own kind underneath. Okay. And Truma. Okay, Truma. And all of them, if they had truma in their mouths, Rabbi Eliezer says they may swallow it. But Rabbi Yehuda says they must spit it out. And they said to him, you have become unclean, or the truma has become unclean. Rabbi Eliezer says you may swallow it, but Rabbi Yeshua says he must spit it out. You were unclean, or the truma was unclean, or it became known that it was devil, or ma'aser rishon from that which truma has not been taken, or ma'aser sheni, or hegdish which not had been redeemed, or tasted the taste of a bug in his mouth, he must spit it out. If one was eating a cluster of grapes and he entered from the garden into the courtyard, Rabbi Eliezer says he may finish it. But Rabbi Yeshua says he may not finish it. And if it became dark on the eve of the Sabbath, Rabbi Eliezer says he may finish it, but Rabbi Yeshua says he may not finish it. If truma wine was found uncovered, it must be poured away, and needless to say, it is chulin. If three liquids are forbidden, they will remain uncovered: water, wine, and milk. But all the liquids are permitted. How long must they have remained so to be forbidden? The time it takes for a reptile to come from a nearby place and drink. Okay. And we are on to Oleos. Oleos, Yud. Test Yud. If the hive is standing in the doorway and there is a less than a handbreadth of space between it and the lintel, then there is tumah inside the hive remains tahor. If there is tumah inside the house, anything inside the hive becomes tumah because of the way the tumah is the way of the tumah to exit and not the way of the tumah to enter. If the hive is lying on its side outdoors and an outside piece of a corpse is located below or above it, everything directly below or above the outside piece becomes tummy, but anything that is not directly above or below or above the outside piece and whatever is inside the hive remains tahor. If the piece of corpse is inside the hive and everything becomes tummy. If the hive is one handbreadth above the ground and there is tumor above, below, or above, and everything becomes tummy except for that which is inside the hive. If the tumor is inside the hive, everything becomes tummy. In one case, it's a supply. When the hive is a utensil. However, if the hive was broken and stuffed with straw, and if it contains 40 saw, according to the Kakaman, and an olive-sized piece of corpse is located underneath it, the hive, utensils below the piece of corpse as deep as one can go become tummy. If the piece of corpse is above the hive, utensils directly above the piece of corpse up to the sky become tummy. If the piece of corpse is inside the hive, only that which is inside the hive becomes tummy. If the hive is a handbreadth above the ground and there is tumor above it or below it, whatever is below the hive becomes tummy. If the tumor is inside the hive, whatever is inside becomes tummy. And if the tumor is above the hive, utensils directly above it to the sky become tummy. Okay. I want to ask on the previous Mishna, it said, I always thought it was just milk and wine that can't be left overnight.
Water.
And water and wine. But I didn't know it was milk also.
Did it say milk?
I thought it said that.
Yain shel shemai. Yes, you're right. Right, of course it is milk.
I didn't know that milk had.
Yeah.
Okay, Edios. Have Zion Dalit. Sadek testified concerning flowing spring water that one child with a walnut leaf that they are fit. If there was an incident in Halal that an incident was brought before the court of the chamber of a hewn stone and they ruled the water fit. Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Yaakov, leader of the Hadar, testified regarding a jar of katas ashes that were placed upon a sheretz. The ashes are tummy, wherever the rules the ashes tahor. Rabbi Papayas testified regarding one who declared the two terms of Nadiris, and if he shaves for the 5 first Nadiris on one day 30, then he shaves for the second Nadiris on day 60. But if he saved on day 61, 60 minus 1, he has to charge his obligation because day 30 is reckoned for him in the court. An account.
Yeah.
Rabbi Papas testified concerning this offspring of a shlomin that one should offer it as a shlomin. For Reb Eliezer says that the offspring of a shlomin is not offered as a shlomin. For the sages say it is offered. Your Papa says, I testify that we have a cow that was a shlomim sacrifice. We ate it on Pesach and we ate its offspring on its shlomim on the festival. Okay. All right,
Yeah,
great.
that's it.
Okay, great.
All right. Have
Okay.
a lovely day. Good Shabbos. Feel good.
Shabbos, good job. I'll see you on Sunday, Miss. Thank you.